The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it. Love it.
Welcome to The Point of View. This is your favorite current affairs show on television. Here on The Point of View, we pick the right topics, get the right guests, interview them on relevant issues, and come up with some useful insights. Every now and again, we also do editorials on important issues because one of our mandates is to put issues in context and also sometimes share informed opinion on important developments. Tonight is one of such nights. We'll be telling you what we think about recent happenings within our security institutions and our security setup and our security architecture. Don't forget, The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Taste it, love it. We'll zoom into the editorial as soon as we come back. Stay with us. So it's been a very busy past couple of weeks in this country. Two of the big stories that have scarred the nation's conscience have had to do with Ejura first and Wa second. So the last week of June, footage emerged of soldiers shooting into a crowd of protesting residents of Ejura after the funeral of an activist known as Mohammed Kaka. That video has generated a lot of anger in the system, and the president has ordered the interior minister set up a committee to investigate the death of Kaka and also the circumstances that occurred on the day of his burial. Then the next day, another video emerged of scores of soldiers on the streets of Wa randomly brutalizing innocent citizens. We will later find out they were doing that because a phone of theirs was missing. So tonight we're going to tell you what we think about what's been happening. One of our tasks in media is to put issues into context, which is what we'll try and do for you today. But I'm going to issue 3 caveats before we get into the editorial. The first caveat is that we are not trying to preempt the work of the committee that has been put in place to investigate the Ejura happenings. In fact, CNR, our news bulletin you watched moments ago, informed us that the committee members were in Ejura today to inform the members of the town that they were starting their work in Kumasi, the Prempeh Assembly Hall, and on Tuesday they would begin their work. They are not forcing themselves to finish within a specific period of time. They want to be thorough. We wish them well in their job. We need to point out that a committee of inquiry is different from a commission of inquiry. A commission of inquiry is very different. What happened with the Ayawaso West was a commission of inquiry, and that one has specific steps that have to be taken. And what comes out of a commission of inquiry has a different level of implication from a committee. This committee was constituted by the Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Derry, and has been given up to 10 days to do its job. Our task tonight is not to preempt that, although we will show you some of the things that happen in Nigeria because they are matters of public record. Second caveat, we know the Constitution is very clear on the role of the military. In fact, Article 2103 is clear. The armed forces shall be equipped and maintained to perform the role of defense of Ghana, as well as other such functions for the development of Ghana as the president may determine. So we are not here to argue necessarily about the various things the armed forces are asked to do. We will talk about some of the things they are asked to do, but we'll also talk about how they go about doing it. So it's not just the what, but also the how. Third point, we will be chronicling for you instances of specific infractions we've seen. We haven't started since time began. We've limited ourselves to 2018. So that caveat is very important. This editorial is not on everything soldiers have done in Ghana, because we know their involvement. 1948, the shootings at the crossroads, we know that. The disturbances, of course, that was a military police team. We know stuff that happened under Kwame Nkrumah, under all the presidents in the various republics. The job of tonight's editorial is not to do an extensive history of military work in Ghana. We are limiting ourselves to what we call our recent context. We are in a democracy, we are under President Akufo-Addo, and in fact, we haven't even gone to early 2017. So We will not necessarily do an exhaustive, because 1 hour will not give us enough time. But our plan is to tell you what we know about two things. First thing, we'll give you specific instances of military attacks against civilians. Why? Because the war incident is important. Is it isolated or does it follow a pattern? We will show you and you will decide. Number two, we will then discuss specific deployments from the state of military people involved in various things, from elections to cleanups to clearing areas. And then we would end with our recommendations as to what both the police and the military have to do, because we are very clear. The reason the police have an interior minister overseeing them and the military have a defense minister overseeing them is that they don't have the same function or mandate. And so we'll end with some very key recommendations. So that's the plan. We are live, so I want you to tell us what you think. During the breaks, we'll be reading some of your comments. Of course, we are receiving them on the WhatsApp number we'll be putting on the screen. So feel free to join us as we discuss this very important issue by way of editorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a quick timeline of military either clashes or attacks against either police or civilians since 2018. March 2018 is the first one. This happened at Bolgatanga, based on what we've put together. The military and police clashed over a police officer wearing a camouflage uniform. Now, what happened? After the clash, the regional minister at the time, Roxin Bukari, who is obviously the chairman of the RECSEC, essentially tried to intervene, right? We are told the army seized the camouflage from the policeman and the matter ended. So even though two agencies of the state were involved in a clash which was violent, a lot of civilians saw this. We were not told of any inquest which was made public. All we know is that the regional minister intervened and the cause of the angst was dealt with. Now, that's March 2018. 3 months later, actually 2 months later, May 16, 2018, some soldiers attacked police officers in the Tamale metropolis. So again, you have two agencies of state. Now, the clash occurred when the police arrested a soldier for allegedly assaulting a civilian. Now, this is important. The military defend us from external aggressors. Police maintain civil order within the jurisdiction. If there is an infraction within the jurisdiction, the police are the ones to take control. Well, the clash occurred because the policeman arrested a soldier. What happened was that a joint police-military committee investigated the clashes between the personnel. This happened in Tamale. We are told they submitted their report to the two ministers. Incidentally, the ministers haven't changed. Interior Ambrose Derry, Defense Dominic Wu. So that's good, right? But the members of the public who witnessed the clash, who listened to the reports in media, were not told what the content was. We don't know whether the parliament got to know about this. So this is May 2018. Contents of the report were never made public. So that's the second instance we look at. So March 2018, first instance, we didn't know of any investigation. Second instance, May 2018, an investigation is carried out. The report is not divulged. Now, fast forward 2020. These are the significant ones. I'm sure there are things happening in 2019. We didn't focus on those. In the Abuabu Akurem community in South Central Kumasi, a group of soldiers attacked and briefly detained Yusuf Abdul Ganiyu. Now, Yusuf worked with Deutsche Welle, or he was a reporter for Deutsche Welle, which is a German news agency, and also a privately owned radio station in Kumasi called Zuria FM. We do not know what happened after he was released. There has not been a public statement from the defense minister on what happened to this. So all we hear is that he was released after some intervention. Okay, so this is April 5, 2020. The next day, Eric Ofochu, and don't forget, this April, the lockdown was declared last week of March 2020. So we're talking lockdown issues now. April 2020, April the 6th, which is the day after the Yusuf Abdul Ganiyu situation with soldiers. One Eric Ofochu, aka No Yawa. This is point number 4 on your screen. A resident of Tabo Line, Nashaman, was fatally shot by a soldier within the lockdown period. Apparently, he had broken lockdown rules and there was some sort of scuffle. He was shot by a soldier. We were told by the military at the time that they were investigating the incident. This is April 2020. Again, we at City have not seen any report. We have not heard of anybody being sanctioned. There are hints from the vetting of the Minister for Defense earlier this year that in certain instances that military people have misconducted themselves, they've been internally investigated, quote unquote. Some have been demoted, some have been sanctioned. We don't know the specific cases. When he was questioned by Parliament during vetting, he didn't make specific reference to this case. He just made a general statement about when people said military get involved in excesses. That question was asked by, I think, 2 different members of Parliament. I remember Ahi asked that question and a couple of others. I think it was either Suhini or it was Ayariga. His answer was that the military have their internal processes for investigating these matters. So the April 6th killing of Eric Ofochu, we do not publicly know who this soldier was and what has happened to him. We don't know if Eric Ofochu's family is aware. We have the media covers the story. We have no idea. Again, if we are wrong, you can let us know. 5th incident that has come up, and these are just selected based on the news cycle. Now, it's important to state that a lot of things happen that journalists don't get to hear of, right? So most of the time, people will call us, or there's an instance where we are there, or it's reported because an official complaint has been made. So these are selected media-covered instances or incidents. So it is very possible that many more may have happened that we haven't covered, right? So this is item number 5. A person was pronounced dead after a confrontation between military officers and illegal miners erupted at a place called Patrinsa in the Asante Achim Central Municipality of Ashanti. This is June 2020. This is supposed to be high COVID period. We'll come back to Galamsey in the second part of the show. We'll talk about the role of military in Galamsey. But again, one person pronounced dead, confrontation between military officers and illegal miners, no update. Now, this ostensibly is the Operation Vanguard period because Operation Halt started under the new dispensation. So again, we don't have an update. So if I give you 5 issues, the only one that we know of a public investigation or an investigation that has come to a conclusion was point number 2. And even that, we don't know the content of the report. Okay? So now you have June 2020, Patrensa. One person died. And in this instance, people are dying. It's not as if it's just... In the instance of issue number 4, Eric Ofochu died. That's his name. Instance number 5, one person is dead. We don't know their name. Now, come to point number 6. 2 persons believed to be military personnel and some civilians sustained several injuries after a bloody clash between them and residents of a place called Domfase. This was extensively covered by CTFM. This is near Obum, Domiabra in the Greater Accra region. It was a land dispute. 2 persons sustained severe injuries. Again, this was August 2020. Again, there's no update of an investigation. In fact, I remember at the time, the member of parliament was at pains to say that they didn't want retribution because apparently the military had gone and they had been attacked. Be that as it may, there is no public information of any investigation into why the personnel were at Dum Fase, whether it was an authorized operation, whether they were there privately, who the land belonged to. There's been no update. That's August 2020. Now, I'm fast forwarding now to, of course, the night of shame for Ghana, right? January 7, 2021. We all saw what happened in Parliament. And we'll show you those pictures later on. Again, it was overvoting for a speaker. And I'll come to that when we discuss part 2 because, again, the Minister of Defense was questioned on this. National Security Minister was questioned. Interior Minister was questioned. And they all took the same line. We'll examine that briefly during the editorial. Again, we do not know what has happened, right? We were told that it was not a civilian who ordered the soldiers into the Chamber of Parliament. Dominic Nitiwu said that very clearly. He says, at that material time, there was no minister. We were all waiting for the president to be sworn in on January 7, January 8, and then we'll know what to do. He later on, when pushed, was said that it was a commanding officer who ordered them to enter the chamber, and then went ahead to say the matter is being investigated. Today's date is July 5. So that is roughly 6 to 7 months since this occurred. Has the investigation been done? Do we know who gave the order? Has any action been taken? We don't know. And I'm not done. Item number 8, and these are just chronicles of things that have happened within the past 2.5 years. Officers on Thursday, April 15, beat and pursued demonstrators fighting over the supposed infringement of last 2 lands by the military. Our Ni Ayikwe Okan was there. He was beaten. They hit his head. He was covering a press conference / march of La Youth who went to a part of Burma camp to protest over land. And this included old women. Now, some of the media was beaten, not just our journalists. And the soldiers didn't take kindly to the presence of both the media and the protesters. Now, the soldiers knew who media was. Okay, so the media was covering a protest. The media was not protesting. Now, I'm not saying that the Layu shouldn't have been beaten or should be beaten. What I'm saying is that the soldiers knew that this is a journalist and this is a protester, and yet they beat both. The military later apologized for the beating of the journalist and said that was a security zone. That's the last we heard of that. Okay, now I'm pointing these things out because one of the fuels of a democracy is accountability. Now, no institution in the country is above the law. So the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and we are all empowered by the Constitution. So when you keep hearing no update, no investigation, no report, it's not me trying to make somebody look bad. I'm just stating the fact as it is. All right? Item number 9 since 2018. Of course, this one is a bit personal because when Caleb Kuda was beaten by members of the SWAT team and beaten by the Director of National Security, the Minister of National Security issued a very clear statement. He said the man's appointment to the National Security, this is Kenal Jemai's appointment, had been withdrawn, and he was to go back to the military or the armed forces for investigation and whatever they wanted to do. Okay, that happened in May. As we speak, what we know is that he has been made to head the 64 Infantry Battalion. We do not know of an investigation by the armed forces or the military high command. We have not been communicated to. We wrote to Media Commission. The National Security did their own investigation. The Media Commission came up with their own conclusions. But the military hasn't said to us why a man who was asked to leave national security and go back to the army, whether it has been investigated or not, what nature the investigation took, we don't know. We are just made to guess that maybe they are happy with him, so they've made him head of 64 Infantry Battalion. We don't know. We are stating facts. Point number 10. An alleged military assault on some civilians in Damongo, West Gonja Municipality of Savannah, June 1, 2021. It's getting closer now. June 1, 2021. So the Caleb issue was May 2021. So item number 10, June 1, 2021. Left one person in critical condition and 17 others with minor injuries. All right? This is an alleged assault on civilians in Damongo by military officials. Regional Minister Said Muhazu Jibril said his outfit would investigate the issue. That's the last we've heard of the matter. That's the last we heard of the matter. This is just June 1, 2021. Point 11. This is now very close. We know this. 2 people confirmed dead Their names are given 28, 25, 26. After youth protesting from the funeral of Kaka were shot by soldiers. I will show you that clip when I come back from the break. Shot, close range. Some of the soldiers knelt and shot. We saw that. They were in front of the police. We'll discuss that as we go on with the program. Luckily, there's a committee that will begin its work on Tuesday. So we cannot say nothing has been done on that. Committee is doing its work. And then the last straw that broke the camel's back is the viral video which showed armed military officers beating up residents of Wa, the Upper Regional Capital. We would later find out it was by a missing phone. Now, a high-powered delegation of the military command visited the overlord of Wana to apologize on behalf of the soldiers. We are told the commanding officer was not in the town when this happened, as if that is an excuse. And the defense minister says there's an investigation going on. He told Parliament. So this is a 5-member team. In fact, our Upper Regional correspondent confirmed today that a 5-member team from the military is in Wa. Again, we don't know the nature of the investigation. Umaru Sanda asked our reporter whether there was a briefing of the press by the military. We are told he just knows that they are in the town to investigate. Okay. Why have we shown you these 12 instances? We are trying to say that what happened in Wa, very gruesome, very troubling, may not be an item in isolation. And while it is not anybody's intention to give a dog a bad name to hang it, I noticed that every time we talk of the military, when the defense minister was being vetted, almost every time he was like, so the military is very professional. He says they are very professional. Well, people criticize me for the excesses of my colleagues in the media. They say, oh, Bernard, we know you are good, but a lot of your people are not correct. I don't say, well, I'm the best or I'm better than somebody. We accept the fault and we try and implement correction. And I think simply saying the military is professional and singing that song when there are at least 8 instances of lawlessness or infractions which are ostensibly being investigated with no outcome doesn't serve anybody's interest. Professionalism is not a brand position and a tag. It is displayed by consistent action. So if you tell us they are very professional, what have been done to the miscreants who bring the professionalism into disrepute? That question is there for all to answer. If they are professional, we don't doubt it. It means that those who are professional are unhappy with those who misconduct themselves. So the question is, how come we don't hear of the outcome of these investigations? Is it that we don't deserve to know? Is it a national security issue? Does Parliament know? Does Parliament have copies of the outcome of any of these investigations that I've listed here? Does the defense minister have copies of any report on these internal investigations? Will he be prepared to share them to Parliament, at least to the Defense and Interior Committee? It will be useful to know, because we don't know. And we broadcast information to the public. We don't know. So obviously the public doesn't deserve to know, because maybe this is a national security issue. We don't know. So we have about 9 instances where investigations have been announced, but the outcomes have not been heard or seen by the civilian population. Don't forget, we all work with the Constitution. I'll take a short break. When I come back, I'm going to now show you what we consider. These are just infractions by maybe soldiers who are misguided or they are indisciplined elements. No problem. So this one, we can say this one is, it shouldn't give us such a big concern, because there are few instances, probably far between, and they are isolated cases. Although 12 in a space of 2 years is a bit much. We will leave that. We will now show you what appears to be a disturbing trend of how we deploy soldiers in peacetime. Don't forget, the military is to defend us against external aggressors. The police are to maintain civil law and order. Civil order. So there's a difference. External aggressors by air, land, or sea at the peril of their lives, fantastic. So police, civil law and order within the jurisdiction. There's a trend that's emerging that we'll comment on. Stay with us.
This morning,
nothing wakes me up better than a cup of cowbell coffee. Delicious coffee aroma.
How can you forget your lines again?
I'm sorry, sir, just that it tastes really good.
Cowbell coffee.
Enjoy the delicious creamy coffee taste of 3-in-1 cowbell coffee.
It's a beautiful day.
Waiting.
Cowbell coffee. Taste it, love it.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Hello there. We know what matters today, don't we? Hurry up. Follow safety measures. Drive for hours. Grab a perfect spot. Park smoothly. And then visit another shop and scroll for the opportunities. Tap to pay. Enjoy that extra reward. Get 10% extra cashback when you pay with Visa. How you pay matters.
Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going. Available in major supermarkets and shops near you. Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine. This advert is FDA approved.
The stage is set. The battle lines have been drawn.
Are you going to play or you're ready for an offer to go home? You're going to play. Type of free kick in which a player can score a goal directly.
No,
you got it wrong.
Are you ready to be part of the thrills, fireworks and excitement as the three tussle to win big and chip away part of the mega 250,000 Ghana cedis cash from the boss?
2,600. You've done very well.
disappointed.
Disappointed?
Yeah.
Hey, catchy.
The Boss, coming soon on GTV Sports Plus, TV3, Joy Prime, and Max TV. Make a date this Saturday, the 10th of July, 2021. The Boss TV Game Show, proudly brought to you by G Money.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight is an editorial on what we call soldiers on the streets. We've given you 12 instances of military not covering themselves in so much glory. Elements within the military, right? From attacking police to fights, issues over land, and all of that. We'll go into what we now consider a troubling trend. But let me just read a few of your comments. So John from Asawase says, good evening, Bernard. We, the family members of Zongo 7 in Asawase, are monitoring the event closely. Will come out very soon. The whole nation will be shocked. Good evening, Bernard. The infiltration of our security services by politicians, especially in recent times, is the result of all this armed robbery and the military killing and attacks we are witnessing. And if proper measures are not taken, it's going to be more serious than this. This is unacceptable in any jurisdiction. Jones in La. Good evening, Bernard. The issues arising must be dealt with strategically. Soldiers are gradually losing their virtue, yet we say work ethic. Ghana we day. Gideon from Medina. Hamza in Tema. Ghana is under terror attack. A peaceful country which is prepared and alert for any external terrorist attack is now being attacked by its own soldiers by killing and brutalizing citizens and causing state of insecurity. Now, Mr. Avle, couldn't the soldiers use IMEI number of the phone to locate the phone? Why did they have to beat people? This is from Lorraine Nakra in relation to the war incident. Zilix Dwayne is asking, is our police service not fit for purpose? Too much military on the street and is worrying. There are a few more comments. I'll pause and come to some other issues. So now, the things I'm going to show you are not necessarily things we all consider to be wrong, but it's important to let you know what's been happening. And I'm starting from lockdown period. I noticed that during the lockdown period, one of the things we did was to fumigate our markets. And for some of the exercises, soldiers were involved. Now, I do know that there are specific units of the armed forces which do things like that. So you have the what you call the 64 Infantry Battalion doing specific things. You have their regiments, which are recce regiments. There are groups that do engineers. Some do roads. So there are legitimate things that military do in support of development, which are well and good. Okay? Now, because they are very disciplined and they are well trained, sometimes when it comes to building projects that have to be done and finished within a specific period of time, contractors are delaying, the military will go in and do it. Now, for this particular operation, it was lockdown situation, it was joint police and military. I don't see any problem with this. We didn't hear of any report of anybody being beaten, at least within this particular video we are showing you. This was a huge effort. There were Zoom Lion people, there were police people, there were military people. This is what they are trained for. There's nothing wrong with this one. But at least it's important to let you know that it also happened. So this was the time when the lockdown had happened and the government wanted to fumigate our markets and clear all the bailer and all the rats and all those things. They caught all kinds of things in the markets. This is Obed Aqua, Chief of Defense Staff, Frema of Edunyame, Mayor of Accra, briefing the media, right? So this is great. Briefing the media, walking through the situation. We need them for certain things like this. Nobody is saying the military should only go and do war. Okay, that's not what we are saying. But we're saying that they've been involved in a lot of things, okay? Now, one of the things they've been involved in, which is troubling, and not troubling by its devised opinion, is the Galamsey fight. The Galamsey fight. Now, Dominic Nito said something in his vetting that really shocked me. He said that when he took over, the military had signed MOUs with 22 private mining companies to offer them protection. When he took over as minister, he inherited 22 MOUs. In fact, Muntaka asked him whether he was prepared to present those 22 MOUs to Parliament, and he said, why not? So I thought that was interesting, that 22 memoranda of understanding had been signed between the military and private mining companies. The question is, how sure is the military that all these private mining companies have all their records kosher? We are told it's not a new thing to have them involved in this, but it was pretty shocking. Now, if it was that right, I'm not sure the Minister of Defense would have. It says some were terminated and some came to their natural end. But I still thought that was interesting. 22 mining companies, private. And then he ended the session by saying that, as far as he knew, only 2 mining companies were supposed to have police and military protection. He mentioned it in the vetting. Only 2. He mentioned AGC and another mining company. Right? So I thought it was quite revealing that 22 mining companies had signed MOU with military. Now, you know why this is interesting? Because under various operations since 1989, we've been trying to use the military to stop Galamsey. So to have concurrently military leading or assisting illegal government to stop illegal mining, and yet Defense Minister says, when I came to office, the military had signed 22 MOU with mining companies of various sizes. I just thought that was interesting, right? So on one hand, the military is protecting mining companies from what I don't know. And on the other hand, the military is helping government fight illegal mining at the same time. Because this 22, the Operation Vanguard has been there before we have the new Galam Stop thing. So I thought that was very interesting. That the military are used. Now, military use in fighting Galamsey may not necessarily be a problem until the judgment does come in. Now, I've interviewed the Minister for Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and questioned him rigorously on the burning of excavators and whether they could occasion judgment deaths. He admitted in the interview that, indeed, one company had won a judgment debt of $15 million against the government. Okay? So there is some legitimate concern about not and this company is called Heritage Imperial, not necessarily the initiation. So maybe you want to stop a very serious situation, you bring military in. But whether they can be in charge of the anti-Galamsey operation throughout. The methods they use, they burn excavators, they stop people because it's a national emergency. No problem. Now, a couple of days ago, the Center for Social Justice released a list of judgment debts we had incurred in Ghana, and it's almost 2 billion cedis since the year 2000. So the question is, how sure are we that the way they go about this work would not because the law is very clear on what to do with excavators when they are confiscated. I don't want to debate that today, but I'm just saying the military involved in Galamsey has its pros and cons, and I hope those who deploy them are prepared to defend the method they use. We are not against their use. We may be concerned about their approach. This is very important. All right? It's not that we are not saying the military don't have a role, because Galamsey, our water bodies have been destroyed. Some of these people are armed. Okay? So nobody's saying that using soldiers to fight Galamsey is wrong. But we are saying that whatever they do must be within the remits of the law. Are the people deploying them, the Minister for the Defense, Minister for Interior, all working with the Minister for Lands, are they sure that the methods they are using can be justified and are lawful? Don't forget, Constitution is the supreme of the land. We are all empowered by the Constitution. Okay? There's also a $50 million judgment debt we have to deal with because of the approach they use. Then let's come to some other issues. Techiman South. Now, the little we know about election coverage is that for elections, the police are the lead in managing elections on a security level. That's what we know. I've covered elections since 2004. The police lead. Okay. Now, let me show you what happened in Techiman South. We don't have all the footage, but some of the footage we've seen when the counting was going on and the challenge occurred. If you look closely, you notice that there's a mixed team of police and soldiers in this room. No problem. When the confusion ensued, I saw a couple of soldiers holding whips, driving everybody out of the room. A couple of soldiers holding whips and saying, hey, leave, everybody should leave. At that time, the police were there, but the police weren't saying too much. Let the video roll a bit, you see it. Okay, so this is the confusion. So these are soldiers in a collation center. Okay, now, do you get the impression from this video that the police are leading and this is the man declaring, this is the guy, the EC official. The scaffold broke out. Of course, there's a soldier and a policeman standing. But clearly, and as the video rolls, you see that the military were more dominant in this space than even the soldiers. In fact, when you went outside, when the whole video rolls, you see that even outside there were a lot more soldiers. There you have a soldier, okay? So, under what condition do you have soldiers, or do you need soldiers in an election situation, fully armed in a collation center? Okay, it will be good for us to know whether this was done for all collation centers or whether there were specific security reports that had look outside. There you have it. That recommended that they be involved, and if they should be involved, at what level? Because don't forget, we're told that a soldier can be part of a security situation there to just be a deterrent. So the fact that he's there doesn't mean he's doing anything. Sometimes by seeing them, you are supposed to then take caution. But we are seeing them in the middle of the ballot. Okay, we are seeing them and they are telling people to leave the hall. Then you have 2 people shot and killed. We don't know who shot them. We don't have evidence of whether it was a soldier or police. We don't want to preempt that. Now, 2 quick points on this one. Interior Minister Ambrose Derry has visited Techiman South. And he has spoken to the families. What I've heard him say is that he's apologized to the victims, and he said that the claim that they were shot because they were armed robbers is not true. He has also said that the CID is looking into the matter. But I do not know if the military are investigating the role of soldiers in the election process independently. Because from what we've heard, it's clear that there's a bigger investigation of all that happened. Again, we are not even sure whether they are investigating the shooting or the overall role of security operatives. But 2 people died, 4 people got injured in Techiman South. Okay? So, is the military interested in knowing the role their people played in that? And is it regular to have fully armed soldiers in a collation center? I think those questions have to be asked. Then let's go to January 7. I think this one is very serious. And if you haven't seen it before, I'm just showing it to you again. We were in Parliament the night before. It went throughout the night. This is we call it the military invasion of Parliament, because the two sides were arguing and engaged in scuffles, and at some point, scores of soldiers entered the chamber. National Security Minister has been asked, Interior Minister has been asked, Defense Minister has been asked. Now, the politicians, the ministers have denied ordering. They've denied ordering the soldiers to enter Parliament because they say nobody was at post at the time. There was a lacuna. President was to be sworn in the next morning. Everybody's term had expired. So even though they were the president's rep at ministries, they say they could not order. In fact, the defense minister said no civilian can order a soldier to do anything. That's what he said. And then he said it has now been revealed that the commanding officer on the day is the one who ordered them to come to the chamber. There they are. Now you see a couple of soldiers, a couple of police and a lot of soldiers. Again, is there a role for soldiers in a parliamentary chamber? That's Muntaka with his mask. We are all trying to escape COVID. Some are moving away. I can count at least 10 soldiers and a few police people. The question is, who gave the order? We are told it's been investigated. We are told it's been investigated since March. We are in July. Who is investigating? What are their terms of reference? What are they trying to find out? What are they really investigating? Do you answer my question? Because here you have been for the whole nation a period where there was essentially no government. This is an attack on the democracy. Leave the parliamentarians to sort themselves out. If there's a problem, the police have a role. Armed soldiers in the chamber? What if somebody's gun had gone off? Now, what shocks us is that Parliament itself doesn't seem very interested in this, which I find very shocking. That this is the citadel of the people's representatives. And here are soldiers trying to separate. Why? I'm not saying we should let parliamentarians fight. We've seen Japan, advanced countries, parliamentarians fight all the time. But Parliament is a master of its own rules. Now, the fact that Parliament itself is not scandalized by this is scandalous. That's my personal view. So, again, from the vetting, Minister said it's been investigated. So, we'll put it in the investigating folder. We'll get a folder and label it investigation folder and put all the 9 things there and add this one to the investigation folder. So, I have 10 things in the investigation folder. So, we are putting that in the investigation folder. Now, the community protests, the military issued a statement. They said it was a security zone. I won't make too much noise about that. Okay. Then we go to Ejura. Again, not to preempt what they are doing, but I want you to see what happened. Because, trust me, it could have been anybody. Here are the police, the soldiers in front, the people are behind. Thank God for good cameras and journalists. We would never have seen this. Shooting is going on. See the guy, he's bent down. Aim, shooting to the left. We don't know who is at the left that he's shooting or what he's shooting. 2 people died. So clearly, these were not rubber bullets. Okay? Now, we were not fully in Ejura, so we don't know the full situation, which is why it's good there's an investigative committee. But we've all seen soldiers shoot people who, from the camera picture, didn't look armed. Now, again, we understand that soldiers can defend themselves if they are attacked. But from what we saw, if you roll the video back a bit, I'm not sure I can tell you that these persons were under attack. People were moving. These guys have parked their car and they are shooting. Is this legitimate use of force? Now, the police have various units that are supposed to maintain civil order. Okay? Now, I just want to walk you through the various police units, which is another whole conversation on its own. Right? Police lead civil order maintenance. The police are supposed to lead. Now, from what you saw, the soldiers were leading. The police, you don't lead from the back, you lead from the front. Clearly, the soldiers were leading because the police were behind. Okay, now, the police have the formed police unit. They are experts in crowd control. Formed police units. Expert in crowd control. We're happy that Ejura was a crowd, right? They are supposed to use appropriate equipment such as shield, helmets, rubber bullets, tear gas, and more. They are also for peacekeeping. There are policemen from Ghana in Somalia keeping the peace. Somalia is more precarious than Accra. If policemen can go to Somalia to maintain peace, can they do so in Nigeria? It's a question for you to answer. Counter-terrorism unit for gathering intelligence and executing already gathered research on terrorism. They are there. We are not saying we have 40,000 police, okay? So they may not be enough, but they are there. Then we have this one, SWAT, Special Weapons and Tactics, established in 2013 to tackle situations beyond the capacity of other departments. So between the formed police, counter-terrorism, and SWAT, you are looking at Parliament, you are looking at Ejura, you are looking at Techiman South, elections. Are you telling me that between all these units, we needed to bring armed soldiers? We have highway patrol unit. They even have an air wing. Guys, air wing. This was established. There's a hangar has been given for them. Police pilots are being trained. So now when you watch police, they have an air wing. Then there's a canine unit who work with the dogs to sniff drugs. There's the Rovers Motorbike Patrol. Visibility and police patrols. Rapid deployment force. So again, if there's a security threat, there's a demonstration, there's something that is escalating, there's a rapid deployment force. My question is, did we exhaust all these people before we brought the soldiers with guns into the situation? Because as we are all told, the training of soldiers is different from the training of police. Soldiers are trained to kill our enemies. Police are trained to help us maintain law and order. It's not the same thing. We even have a group called the Mounted Squad Unit. So they have horses. When you're in Central London, you see police on horses, sometimes just as a deterrent. Huge horses moving in places. So the question is, did these 10 or so units of the police say they were so overwhelmed or so incapable that they needed not the support to the leadership? Because I'm talking about leadership in terms of what we've seen. What you saw in Ejura was not support. It was somebody leading. What we showed you in Techiman South, the police didn't seem as many as the soldiers. I could be wrong. So are we saying that between all these units that I've mentioned, formed police, counter-terrorism, SWAT team, highway patrol, air wing, that they needed soldiers to lead them in a civilian situation? Yes, we have a 34,000 deficit. We don't have the requisite ratio. But are the soldiers to support or to lead? We have some recommendations when we come back. This is the point of view. We're still talking about soldiers on our streets. It's an editorial. Please send us your thoughts. I'll read more when I come back as well. Stay with us.
Good afternoon, sir. My name is Ekia Anderson. I'm a census official from Ghana Statistical Service, and I'm here to count you and your household members for the 2021 Population and Housing Census.
Hey, you people, you come to count us all the time, yet we get nothing out of it. Do I even have the time?
Daddy, please check your ID card and letter in. We must be counted. It's very important. You see, the data they collect is for various purposes. To know the total number of people in the country, the characteristics, housing conditions and stuff, to inform policy. The totals in schools.
The 2021 Population and Housing Census will leave no one behind. The census night is 27th June. Counting of all persons who spend the census night in Ghana will be conducted from that night to 11th July. Before then, all structures will be assigned unique numbers and basic information collected on them and their occupants from 13th to 25th June. The 2021 Population and Housing Census. You count, get counted.
It's a good day to meet every challenge. It's a good day to want more out of life. It's a good day to wish for it, work for it, go get it. Familiar taste, a delicious indulgent with a flavor you just can't hide. Refreshing energy, gives so much for so little. For a strong performance, you've come to the right place. Good Day Energy Drink. Why wait a minute to enjoy a good day when every second counts? Good Day Energy Drink keeps you going.
Excessive drinking can be detrimental to your health. Not recommended for persons under 18 years, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and people sensitive to caffeine.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Whatever the occasion, with ATL, you can never be out of style. ATL, bringing fabric to life.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight, we're sharing our views on what we consider a troubling trend of the normalization of the role of the military in maintaining civil order. And we feel the police, based on the Constitution and based on norms and practices, based on best practice, based on statutes, and based on the modus operandi we know, are to lead that. We've shown you the invasion of Parliament, we've shown you the Galamsey fight and some of the issues there. We've shown you the Techiman South Coalition problems, the La community protest, and the beating of journalists, and also the Jira issue. I need to show you two final things. So, during the clearing of onion sellers as well, the military were involved with the police because apparently after the onion sellers had been moved, scrap dealers didn't want to move. And here are some of the shots. Again, shots had to be fired because the scrap dealers appeared to be resisting and they were agitating. So here are soldiers again with the police unit, which I mentioned earlier, taking I don't know whether I said they are taking the lead, but essentially trying to clear the place. So again, they are working together. So it seems to be a normal situation, right? Here's somebody, right? There's a gentleman, I don't know what to call him, a gentleman. Somebody, I don't know whether that's blood or something on him. But you know, so this is what's going on. All right? This is peacetime. Clearing people to make space. We don't know whether he's been hit by a gun or he's been by whatever. But he's walking freely. Okay? So there you have it. Again, this is just last week. Clearing people, soldiers, police, working together. Now, a lot of people may say you have to apply a certain level of force to clear people. But you see, we are in a constitutional era. People are innocent until proven guilty. There are humane ways of doing things. We will gloss over this because nobody knows them. He's not a journalist, he's not a politician's son. He's probably somebody who nobody knows. So this is okay. It's always okay until it happens to you. It's always okay until it happens to you. This is somebody. He's not armed. Of course, police are also involved. So I want you to see, this is happening. This is just last week. Oh. This is just last week. Let me end with the worst of them all. Why? I'm going to show you why again. And I want everybody who's watching this, particularly in the armed forces, to reflect on what we've just seen. So there you have it. Soldiers enter a place, a lot of aboboya moving, and the small one. Somebody's in a gutter, hit on the head. From the reports we got, even pregnant women were beaten. Nobody was spared. Here's a woman walking on the street. This went on for a while. These videos are pretty long. It was so bad that a high-ranking team from the armed forces had to go to Wa to go and literally beg. Okay, to beg. My question is, if what they are doing is so wrong and we are so embarrassed and we are begging for them, why is it an internal inquiry? Do you really think those people who did this thing that we saw, I don't know if they showed the whole video, do you think they really deserve the courtesy of an internal inquiry? Almost like, well, because they are in uniform, they can do anything. We have our own rules. Well, your rules are under the Constitution. That's why when a soldier comes to my room and shoots me, a policeman will arrest because he's under civil law. So we shouldn't create the impression as if once somebody is in military uniform, he can do anything he wants, and we have to leave it to the military. We can't leave it to anybody. The Constitution is what empowers everybody, including everybody. So I think the penchant for sort of giving special treatment to errant members of the armed forces is completely unacceptable. I don't think anybody in the army watching these people in war doing what they did should be proud of what they saw to the extent of wanting to make it look like it is our own issue. It's not your own issue. It's been beamed all over the world. Social media, imagine, when this happened, the president was probably in a different country. Mr. President, is this what's happening in your country? Why? What are they doing? So this is an international issue. So I think that from the folder we've created for under investigation with no public information on it has become too big. And honestly speaking, this matter shouldn't be treated like previous issues, where we say, oh, it's an internal inquiry. No. We have to know who these people are and what punishment you are giving them. If you want to protect the image of the army you so love, you cannot treat this differently. I'm telling you. What are my recommendations? Number one, we have to take a serious view of this creeping culture of involving soldiers in everything that's supposed to be normal. In fact, I've even shown you some things, including carrying people's bags in court. Of course, that was explained. But still, honestly, it's you are making them ubiquitous. That's not their role. A lot of us are nervous. Some of us were born in the early 80s. We've seen a few things as kids. You don't want to normalize men with guns in streets as if that's normal and okay. All right, there you have it. Join, and we are told, of course, I know that President, Vice President, and Defense Minister typically will get military protection. But we saw this during the court sitting. We don't know if it's continued, but we saw this. So first point, lawless soldiers don't deserve special treatment. Even if internal processes are undertaken, the public deserves to know the outcome of these processes for the sanctity of the military's own image. Doing an internal investigation doesn't serve anybody's interest. Number two, even if the activities were sanctioned, they must be held accountable for how they did it. So even if a juror was sanctioned by the high command, the people who pointed guns and shot innocent civilians have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. The findings for the committee must not be treated like what we've seen in the past. Luckily, it's not a commission of inquiry where we can say, issue a white paper, we disagree, we agree. But still, we cannot, you see, because confidence, respect has to be earned. It's not a birthright. And sometimes those who love an institution are the ones who take action to correct it internally. So nobody who believes that we must protect the sanctity of the armed forces should allow any miscreant, if it is found out after the committee's work that soldiers misconducted themselves and they were acting outside. There are rules of engagement. There's best practice. There's codes of conduct. Punishment must be meted out. Publicly so. The other issue is this. Government penchant for using soldiers in regular police operations needs to stop. It's becoming one too many. Now, the reason I'm concerned about this is that it's a very scary relic of our revolutionary past, where soldiers were used to intimidate people. Makola. Soldiers were used by the state to intimidate people. They beat people up. We don't want that. We don't want to be reminded of that. And it shouldn't be happening under this government. Every 2 things, soldier. Everywhere, soldier. Everywhere, soldier. No. They are not trained to be doing those things with us. They should go and fight our enemies. There's a lot of issues in the Sahel region. Burkina Faso is facing problems. They should go and solve those ones. We beg. The police itself, don't be happy that soldiers are helping you do what you are doing. Lead. You are the police. That's your job. You need to invest in intelligence gathering and regain the lost confidence of the public. The fact that they are bringing soldiers suggests that people think that you police people, they don't fear you. You are not supposed to fear, they're supposed to respect you. So we need to equip our police to maintain civil order. We need to upgrade their training to deal with the modern challenges of policing, intelligence gathering. Crime is very dynamic these days. We understand all that. But that doesn't mean the police should play a relegated role. Give them the resources and allow them to lead. And stop invading their space with gun-wielding soldiers. It's not a good reminder of where we've come from. We don't want to go back there anymore. So we beg, let's render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And I think the police themselves must take a very serious view of this, and through their minister, reassert themselves so that what we know to be the norm and best practice is brought back. Thank you for your comments. We'll be sharing them on the screen during our repeat, and we can also read them. But let me end with this quote that a friend sent me on Facebook, and I think it's a very nice quote to end the show with. Just put it on the screen as we close. It says, "There's a reason you separate military and the police. One fights the enemies of the state. The other serves and protects the people. When the military become both, then the enemies of the state tend to become the people." William Adama. It's not Adama, it's Adama. But let's think about it. Thank you for watching tonight's edition of The Point of View's editorial on Soldiers on Our Streets. Let's know what you think. If you like what you've seen on YouTube, Facebook, like the video and share. I'll be happy to hear from you on what you think of what we've said tonight. Thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is brought to you by Cowbell Coffee. Cowbell Coffee. Taste it. Love it.